It's time to give the MT-01 an oil change. I'm not very good at these videos, so here we go. Anyway, it's done. About 1500 Ks, and it's got Yamalube in it. I want to get rid of that god awful stuff because I don't know what it is, and we're going to substitute it for Castrol 4T, which is mineral oil 1550, which is good for Australian conditions. A lot of people will argue synthetic or whatever's better. It's an MT-01, it's not a racing engine. It's got push rods and valves and stuff in it. It's nothing, I mean, it's not a super performance bike, so why go to the extent of spending a hell of a lot of money on really expensive oil when that's the perfect oil for it, or at least it is in my opinion. Anyway, what we're going to need to do an oil change. Well, we're going to need an oil pan to drain the oil. We're going to need a wrench to take the oil filter off, or that one, whichever fits. We're going to need a 17mm socket. We're going to need a 10mm socket, and I think that's about it. So the first job is to take this belly pan off here, and we do that with one of these small hexagonal socket. You take the 4 bolts off and the belly pan comes off, just like that. How easy is that? Put it to the side, stick your screws inside it so as you don't lose them, you know exactly where they go, and then we'll go to the other side. Okay, once this belly pan's off, it's pretty straightforward. You got 2 sump plugs. One's here, the bottom of your engine, which drains the engine oil out, or the oil that's in your engine. There isn't much, because most of it is kept in the tank, and the drain plug in the tank is right there. Both are 17mm, so we need 17mm spanner to drain it. Now, oil filter is in here. Okay, we'll have to take this off. There's 2 10mm bolts, one here, one at the other side. Take them off, and behind there is the oil filter, which I'll show you shortly. Anyway, we'll go and we'll take off, I should say drain the oil first, and then we'll tackle the oil filter. Okay, oil pan in place. We're now going to drain the oil. Now we'll get our 17mm, we'll slacken this off, and like that, and take the bolt out. Watch for the washer, if there's one on it, there should be, and take the plug out, let it drain. And while we're at it, if we take off the cap, see it drain quicker, and we'll just leave the dipstick and the plug to clean. Now that's draining. Now, although that gets most of the oil out, we've also got, let's pull that over a bit, the actual engine. There we go, slackened off. Now, this has got a tank which holds the oil, and it's a dry sump. Although it's a dry sump, there's still some oil sits in the bottom. I don't know how much, but there we go. There's the oil draining out the engine. And we'll just leave that, and we'll let that drain away until it's dry. Now, as you can see, the oil's still draining. So what we need to do next is take off this small electrical, I don't know what it is, rectifier or whatever. And for that we need a 10mm socket, which goes onto here, and just take that bolt out like that. Now, there's one on each side, so for quickness I've taken another one out. That's both of them out. lying on the ground, and this you can tow to the side, out the way, and there's your oil filter, which comes out fairly easy. There's a wee pipe to the side here, pull that out the way, and this is your oil filter. Now, if it's not been that long since it's been put on, it might slacken by hand, but alas, not for us. We'll need to go and get a wrench. Now, as you can see, I have the wrench and oil filter, so it's just a matter of wrenching it off, like that one. Once it's slack enough, take the wrench out and do the rest by hand. And there's it slackened off. And just unscrew the oil filter. And there it is. All done. Now, we take a new one and see the ring on the top. Just get a little bit of oil, smear it on with your finger, and then screw it onto the housing. Now, this one was very tight, that's why I'm out of breath. And as I always say to people, once you put an oil filter on, it should be hand tight, no more. As tight as you can get it by hand. I never use a wrench because I've seen wrenches used and the thing's seizing on, and yeah, it's pointless. Just crank it on and then tighten it real tight, as tight as you can by hand, and that should be it, and we'll do that in a second. Okay, here we go. Finger in the oil, wee bit of an oil ring, just to make it slippy and slidey, just like that, and then we screw it on. Now, make sure you get it on the right thread, don't drop it into the oil. How's that? Screwed on. Now give it a wipe, just so your hands are not going to slip, and crank it up as tight as you can. Like I say, hand tight. I've never had to use a wrench on that, and I've never had an oil filter leaking or anything. Just tighten it up. There we go. And oil filter on. Now, the next thing I might do is the bike's on its back stand. I might just let it off the back stand onto its side stand, and just let it drain on its side for a wee while, and that should get the rest of it. And I normally leave it for at least half an hour or more, and that way it gets all the dirty oil out. And then once we've done that, we'll just reverse the procedure, all the bolts back on, and fill it with oil. Now we've put everything on, back on again. As you can see, the belly pan's on, the oil filter's on, that bit's screwed back on, and our tank bolt, some bolts back on, that pan's back on. So what we're going to do is put some oil in. Now, I bought one of these wee gadgets, never tried it before. It's like that, and you just slip it on, then put my small end into there and pour. Let's see how successful this is. Oh shit. Well, I can assure you it's not that great. I'll need to stop and start again. Fancy gadgets, throw them in the bucket. What a mess. Anyway, let's go back to old original way. This takes about half a litre. As you can see, I had to buy a litre one because this is supposed to take about 5 litres, this thing. And that's more like it. Nice and steady. Look at that lovely golden colour. That's what we want. So I want to put in about 2.5 litres, something like that. Run the bike, and then once it's heated up a wee bit, switch it off and top up, and it should take more or less the 5 litres. filled oil tank up, and using this much easier. And what I did was, I think I put in about 3 litres, and then I put the lid back in, started it up, run it for about a minute, revving it a few times, switched it off, and then I was able to top it right up with the remainder of the 5 litres. Then I just switch it on again. Oil lights on, sounds sweet. Up now, but the light doesn't see that. There's old oil, black, dirty, and that's it. Oil change done. All I need to do now, switch it off, let it settle for a minute, check the oil, and if it's okay, job done. And we'll see how it goes.